Good morning. Thank you for being here today. It is, as always, a pleasure to be here with you. I'm sorry I missed you on Monday. I was in the middle of a meeting when 11 o'clock rolled around and I just couldn't get to it. And unfortunately, Carol is meeting with somebody right now, so she's not here today. But in any event, it is a pleasure to be here with you. And we'll begin, as we do, with a moment of silence, reflecting today on Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 7. A time to tear and a time to sow, a time to keep silence and a time to speak. Thank you for that. That is, as I say, um, as I've said so frequently, important for us to have silence in our lives, certainly spiritually, as an opportunity to kind of listen for God and to see what He is trying to say to us, what He's trying to prompt us towards with the Holy Spirit, but also just for our general health and physically, mentally. Silence is an important part of the human experience, and up until quite recently, was something that we encountered all the time in our daily lives. And it's only in the last 20 years that we always have phones with us, we always have music playing, we always have this, that, the other. That has changed radically, and I don't think it's important for us to make time for silence in our life. So I'm always glad to have this opportunity in the morning to spend a little quiet time with all of you. As I mentioned, one of the reasons to be silent is to hear the prompting of the Holy Spirit, to hear the prompting of God. And so we welcome the Holy Spirit into our lives, reflecting today on Romans chapter 8, verse 26. The Spirit helps us in our weakness, for we do not know how to pray as we ought, but the Spirit Himself intercedes with us with sighs too deep for words. And of course, it is with the Holy Spirit and with God that we are capable of doing all the things that we need to do in our lives. And so it is only in that context in which we can really fully make ourselves, be ourselves, and be fully human. And so we do welcome the Holy Spirit into our life, and we thank Him for all that He does for us. So one of the things, of course, that the Holy Spirit prompts us to is thanksgiving and gratitude. And we will reflect today on Colossians chapter 3, verse 15. Let the peace of Christ rule in in your hearts, to which indeed you were called in one body, and be thankful. And that we, the Thanksgiving is such an important part of what we do with God, and we ask Him to thank us for all that we. Hold on just one second, please. I'm in the middle of something. That we offer thanksgiving to God for all that we do, and we don't we then ask Him, we ask Him for what we need, but we also try to be mindful of all that He gives us. And so we want Christ's peace, knowing that He will provide all that we need for us. We want Christ's peace to be present in our lives at all times. That being said, of course, we do also ask God for the things that we need. We make our petitions known to Him, reflecting today on Matthew 7, chapter 7, verse 7, excuse me. Ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and it will be opened to you. And this is very much how our relationship with God works, that He gives us the things that we need. And so we ask Him for what we need and what we want. But we also want to be mindful that that doesn't mean that He's a wish granting genie. We certainly tell Him what's troubling us, but we don't just expect Him to immediately give us everything we want. But we know that He gives us what we need and the things that will lead us to our salvation. And so we are grateful for that. Now today is Wednesday, and as you may recall, last time we did a live stream on Wednesday, we finished the Guide for the Domestic Church. And so what we're going to start doing this week, for the next several weeks at least, is reading the so in the church calendar that we hand out every year, there is I mean, obviously this is the calendar part, but we also have the this part, the top half of each page is for our edification. It's a catechetical tool, and this year's calendar focuses on fasting, and so we're going to read through the information part on the top of each month. So we'll start with January, from this past January, and we'll read "Giving Our Table to the Lord," which is the title of this section of the calendar. Eating has always been one facet of life in which people have turned their attention to God. We recognize him as the provider of our food and thus the source of our life. We also recognize his creation as good and worthy to be set apart for him, either by using it or by abstaining from it. Religion begins in the kitchen, runs the old saying. God imposed the Mosaic law on the people of the Old Testament church to remind them that they were responsible to him. In the same way, tradition has given us, in the New Testament church, its ways of fasting and feasting as tools to help us work out our salvation and to remember the things God has done for us. So, and this is very much the case. And then the rest of this one is fasting is going to be the theme, the major theme of all of these. But in the one today, it's talking a little bit more about the foods that are blessed in our church, and in particular circumstances. So these are some of the foods blessed in our church. Bread is blessed on several occasions. Bread, wheat, wine, and oil are blessed at the articlesia, a sharing of food as a part of vespers on great feasts. Similarly, bread is blessed as part of the panagia, a solemn table blessing. The offered bread not used for the Eucharist at the liturgy is blessed and given out as antiteron, which is a Greek word that means instead of the gifts. Antiteron means literally instead of the gifts, after the service. In some places, sweet bread is blessed at memorial services, which is certainly the custom here. A special loaf called artos is blessed as part of the Paschal observance. Boiled wheat, sweetened and often mixed with fruit and nuts, is blessed at memorial services and on certain feast days, St. Barbara, St. Theodore, and St. Lucy, to name a few. Hard-boiled eggs are blessed as the Paschal celebration and cracked in recollection of Christ breaking open the tomb. These eggs are dyed red in honor of Christ's blood. Cheese is often blessed along with kak, special cookies made especially for Pascha. Meat is sometimes also blessed, but never in the church itself. All these foods are eschewed during the Great Fast. Figs are distributed with dates during the reading of the life of St. Mary of Egypt. Figs are also blessed as part of the articlesia on Great Saturday. Grapes are blessed at the Feast of the Transfiguration on August 6th, which we've just celebrated and talked about in the last several weeks, as a sign of transformation. Apples might be blessed at the Feast of St. Euphrosymus the Cook. Herbs are blessed in many churches on the Feast of the Dormition, along with flowers, as I talked about at that feast as well. Water is blessed on Theophany and at other times, not just for sprinkling, but for drinking as well. Wine is blessed at the articlesia and panagia services, as is, of course, the common cup at marriage. Besides these liturgically blessed foods, festive meals abound in the life of our communities and in our families on the occasions of the church feasts. These feasts are really nonverbal forms of prayer in which we glorify the one in whose honor we are celebrating. In the domestic church, we should celebrate the church's festivals with some special table treats. In addition to the foods mentioned above, there are a number of foods from various ethnic traditions associated with festivals that we observe. St. Nicholas gingerbread cookies, 40 skylark breads, or falafel or pumpkin kibbeh balls on the Feast of the 40 Holy Martyrs. Also, zlabi and amawet, baptized in syrup, are Middle Eastern treat associated with the Feast of Theophany. Preparing these foods together could be more important than the eating. We talk about the church feasts, and they come alive for the family. And this is very much the case, that the way we eat and the way we interact with the world is an important part of our lived out experience. As I said, we've just finished the Guide for the Domestic Church, which is very much about how we bring the faith home, especially to our children, but to make it live in our lives in the house. And the calendar here, especially in talking about these feasts, is doing much the same thing. It is not, there are, as I said, in the coming weeks, we will get more into when do we fast, how do we fast, why do we fast, all that kind of thing. But this, it is, as I have said before, and I will say again many times, I'm sure you'll hear me say this, we do not fast because the food is inherently dirty or unclean or evil or anything of the sort. We fast because we want to draw closer to God, and the the that is lived out in the home. That yes we fast, but we also importantly feast and are aware of the goodness of God and the things that He gives us. So, in any event, I'm going to stop talking about that for today. We will end by recommitting ourselves to faith and to Christ, to living out the life He has called us to, and attempting to really be what we are called to be in our lives. And an important part of that is in the um, in the way that we participate in the creation that God has given us, the good things that He has given us as well. So we'll read Deuteronomy chapter 12, verse 28. Be careful to heed all these words which I command you, that it may go well with you and with your children after you forever, when you do what is good and right in the sight of the Lord your God. And that line from Deuteronomy, and especially in regard to what it said at the very beginning of this thing, the God gave the Jews, the Israelites, the dietary laws as a way of reminding them constantly that they should be in relationship with God, which is very much how this our fasting rules work also. That we fast and we feast in these particular ways because they are a way of reminding ourselves throughout the day that we are in relationship with God and that we want to be in relationship with God. So let's, as I say, recommit ourselves to faith and to Christ and to living out the life that He has in mind for us. Thank you all for being here this morning. Koki, good morning. Gada, good morning. Sue, good morning to all of you. God bless you all.